Will Z be out there today?
No, Z's not going to be out there. Unfortunately, we're going to have to shut him down for a while. So, you know, it's a matter of just, do you keep him in a limited role, or do you shut him down for a while, try to get him healthy, and then get him up to the snap count that we'd like him to be, just like he's been in the past, because he's such an impact player. So it's just the route that we thought was best long term.
Was there a setback on Sunday, or did you just not come out of it feeling good, or what was the story?
Yeah, no, it's just, again, it speaks more to the repetitions. You know, I think, what do you have, 18 snaps or whatever? So, you know, it's one thing when you're managing a back throughout the course of the season. Why not try to get him as healthy as possible so we can have him, you know, more readily available, hopefully.
Do you think like short-term IR is kind of the way you'll go with that then?
Yeah.
What are you missing without him on that defense, man?
Well, he's a disruptive force. He's a game wrecker. Certainly, I think he's a guy that the offense has to account for on every play, where he's at, where he's aligned. How are you going to protect against a guy like that? Because if you give him those one-on-one matchups, he can make it pay. So yeah, he's certainly proven his worth over the last couple of years, and even prior to coming here, just how dominant and such a force he can be.
Matt, what do you need done out of guys like Garvin and Rivers? Because obviously Preston, Rashawn can't play every snap.
Yeah, those guys. I mean, it's a next man in mentality, and certainly everybody's going to have to play their part in terms of getting that production. So we need everybody to be at their best.
Matt, what kind of jump have you seen from Rashawn, though? Especially in camp, being able to get the reps that he did, when Z was down.
Yeah, I think Rashawn is a guy that, first of all, his approach is spot on in terms of just the effort that he gives each and every day. Every rep, he goes 100 miles an hour, and I think you can feel that effect not only in practice but in the games. And we just need to continue for him to keep that upward trajectory that he's been on.
Is positivity through adversity something you've talked about to the team as a group? Is it a principle? Is it something that happened with your club last year? Is that something you've talked about?
I just think it's more consistency, in terms of how your approach is each and every day. I think as the leader of the football team, I think you have to exude confidence and be upbeat, because and keep it real at the same time. But I just think that's just you always focus on your approach. I think our biggest message to our players is, in times of adversity, I think a lot of people press and they try to make plays instead of focusing on doing your job and doing it to the best of your ability. And there's a lot of trust that goes along that, because you got to trust the other 10 guys out on the field are doing their job as well. So that is, when you go through a tough time, you got to look inward and see, how can I be at my best.
After the loss, Aaron said that maybe the team had gone into the game a little too confident. So just from your perspective with the team, how do you balance going into a game confident but not going in overly confident and then having what happened last week happen?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's your approach on a daily basis. I think there's no substitute for hard work, and I know that's cliche, but I really believe in that. You got to go out there on the field and, put the work in so that you feel confident going into the game that you can go out there and execute.
Sarah, go ahead. Sarah, go ahead.
How come Amari Rogers didn't play last week until the game was basically decided? Is he still just not quite ready, or do you anticipate that changing as soon as this week?
Yeah, I think he's always got to be ready to go. It just is kind of the way the game plan went. I mean, again, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but prior to the 2-minute, we had 12 plays, so it's hard to get everybody involved the way you'd like to. And then, you know, when the game got out of hand, and we kind of emptied our bench, so to speak, and let those other guys play. And certainly, he's a young player that needs those repetitions. So, but that's just kind of how the game played out. You guys we'd like to revisit the New Orleans Saints game quite a bit. Do we have any Detroit Lions questions?
Dave Burkett.
From Detroit here. This is maybe not Detroit.
Hey, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that, man.
Very big picture. You know, you've been a part of, you know, the past couple of years now, one of the NFL's most successful organizations over the span of a few decades. Whether it's from what you've learned there or what you've seen from other, you know, organizations like that across the league, what do you think the key is to building a program with such sustained excellence?
Really good players. You have to have great players in this league, and I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but there's a lot of truth to that. But also, I think just, you know, being consistent, having high standards, and people believing in that and upholding those standards. I think there's nothing more powerful than when the players uphold the standard and kind of set it for you, and I think we got a great locker room here that takes that to heart.
Hey Matt, you guys are really, really cautious. Basically, any injury situation all through 2020, and then with Z, he doesn't practice on Friday. He plays 18 snaps, and now he's going to IR. Was that a mistake to play him, or are you still comfortable with that decision?
No, I think we're comfortable with the decision. Certainly, it's just one of those deals where, you know, you want him more readily available, and we feel like this is the best way to allow that to happen. He's going to have to rehab hard, and, you know, hopefully over time, it's just one of those injuries that you just never quite know.
Hey, man, I got a Detroit question for you here. Obviously, you know, offensive line was expected to be kind of one of Detroit's, you know, strengths heading into the season. You lose Taylor Decker, but still played pretty well last week against a really good San Francisco front. Just curious what stood out about them up front last week, and just the challenge that posed to your guys up front.
Yeah, I thought Detroit's line was outstanding. Both in the run game, there were some big holes in the run game. And I thought they'd really moved San Francisco off the ball pretty well, and that's a really, really good front, one of the premier fronts in this league. I thought, you know, they're a penetrating defense, and that's not easy to do. So I was super impressed with them in the run and in the pass. You know, there were a lot of clean pockets there for Jared to give him time to make, you know, correct decisions and get the ball down the field.
There's two more. Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, do you think you'll use that spot to try to bring another edge guy up from practice squad, or do you have another idea for that? And then also, what did you think of what Garvin and Rivers getting up?
Yeah, so to answer your question, Tom, we've got another guy that's still going through the process that we were picking up off another team's practice squad. But as far as Rivers and Garvin, yeah, they're going to have to contribute, and they're going to have to contribute in a big way. Certainly, it's a lot to ask of Rashawn and Preston to play an entire game. So those guys they're going to have to have their presence felt out there on the field.
And last one, Stacey Gales.
Just kind of a two-parter, just the response that you detected this week within your building, and then yesterday you used the word underrated to describe the Lions a couple times, which I deem as a compliment, really. How do you convey that to your players, and what do you find most underrated about this team?
Well, I just think when you look around and you hear the expectation of, you know, there's a lot of forecasts, you know, preseason. That's why you try to ignore all the noise, both positively and negatively. All I had to do was put on the tape and watch them play. And again, we just talked about their offensive line, just the movement they were getting up front, big holes in the run game. They put up a lot of points on one of the better defenses in the league, and I think their defense, they fly around and they're physical. So I think it's going to be a great challenge. I got a lot of respect for Dan and their coaching staff. I think that team really emulates his personality. You can tell he's a hard, tough-nosed guy. And then as far as just, handling it around here, it's like I said, it's just, hey, you can't look in the rear view mirror. You got to look forward and put the work in, and because you got to be at your best each and every week in the National Football League, no matter who you're playing. And I think this is going to be a good old-fashioned NFC North battle. There's not going to be a lot of finesse about this game. I have a feeling it's going to be a very physical football game.